I love a lot of different podcasts out there, but Adam Adams, I kind of like the shorter podcasts. I kind of like the takeaways that I feel like I can do something because I listened to this episode. I can be better because I listened to this episode. It had a really good takeaway. It made sense. He or she wrapped it up for me. I get it. I prefer shorter. So if I could listen to a podcast, I would want a podcast that was under 20 minutes. That would be my preference. Adam would want an under 20-minute podcast. But Joe Rogan, for example, has 2 or 3 hour podcast length. 2.5 is very common for him. And he still is pretty famous. So somebody trying to pretend like 35 minutes is the right time or under 10 minutes is the right time or 2.5 hours is the right time. Look, there's famous podcasts at every length. Think about your avatar. What do they want? Next thing to think about is how much value are you giving? Like, are you really going to be giving value? If you're going to be giving value the whole time, if it's going to be funny, if it's going to be entertaining, if it's going to be consumable, if it's going to be interesting, and it's not going to be boring, it can be as long as you're still adding value, as you're still helping somebody. It can be that length. But if you're going off on random tangents and people don't know what they're listening to, what they're going to get out of the episode, it's going to be challenging for you to have it very long or even having a podcast at all. So just remember, it has a lot to do with your avatar, and it has a lot to do with your goals, and it has a lot to do with how much value or how long you can keep somebody's attention. All right. There is no data that I can find that says a 5-minute or a 25-minute or a 45-minute or a 1.5 hour or 2.5 hour is going to make or break the podcast strength. There's no data on that I can find anywhere. So just remember, it won't really matter the length of yours as long as you're really speaking to your avatar. They're getting the value that they wanted to come for. Either it's comedy or something that they learned. It's value. It's tangible. It's takeaways. It's whatever it is. I want to make sure that the whole episode has that, and it's for the right person. And then the next question is just like, what is the cadence that I should have? What's the frequency that I should be posting these? Well, I will say 7% of podcasts are 0 to 2 days. That basically is a daily podcast. 38% of them are once a week or twice a week. 39% of podcasts out there are longer than a week. This is like 8 to 14 days. So basically every other week. And 15% of podcasts are, between once and twice a month total, like every 15 to 29 days. And 1% of podcasts that are regular publishing podcasts. Only 1% of them only publish after 30 days. So, but does this mean that you necessarily will get more value because you have a certain length? No, this doesn't necessarily say it. But there is something that will affect you, that will help you understand how frequently that you should be posting. And basically, the way that I can boil it down to the easiest is the more you publish, the higher percentage that you're going to be famous. The more you publish, a lot of people are afraid to publish like a lot of episodes because they think that if I publish 2 episodes, my listeners not going to be able to listen to all of them. If I'm doing two a week, my listener, they say only has the ability to listen to one of those episodes per week. And so I would be diluting it. I would be like making it harder for them to listen because I give more content. And that's actually not the case. I was speaking at a conference once upon a time where the leader of the conference, he has a daily podcast, and the lady raised her hand to ask a question. Said basically, like, if you started all this over again, would you still do a daily podcast? His answer was no, I would do a twice daily podcast, because he understands that the more often that you publish, the more likely you're going to be famous, the more likely that you're going to get value, the more likely people are going to share your podcast, the more likely that you're going to have tangibles that people can take away. And that's one of the reasons why this podcast, as I'm recording today, we publish 4 times a week.